Okay, so Assalamu alaikum. This is part two of the lecture of the social contract, which was given by Thomas Hobbes. In the previous part, which was part one of this lecture, we discussed the human nature, and then the state of nature, and then the third point was the nature of the contract. And this fourth point is the part two of social contract theory. So it begins with sovereignty of the state. This is basically the continuation part of part one. So just let me give you a brief glimpse of what sovereignty means. In political science, sovereignty is usually defined as the most essential attribute of the state, and the state is complete and it's self-sufficient within its certain territory, and it is supreme in its domestic policy and independent in its foreign one as well. Then there are several kinds of sovereignty as well: the real sovereignty, legal sovereignty, popular sovereignty, political sovereignty. But let's not get into this debate. My topic is sovereignty of the state according to the Hobbes perspective. So sovereignty is necessary attribute of the state. As a result of social contract, जो हमने previous slide में पढ़ा था, state बन चुका था, ठीक है, लोगों ने covenant agree कर दिया था. So the state possessed absolute and unlimited sovereign power. So in civil society, sovereignty must exist, and it must exist. It's very necessary because I told you before that without sovereignty, स्टेट का कोई मतलब नहीं है. स्टेट बनता ही क्यों है? दैट इट वुड हैव सॉवरेनिटी ओवर इट्स ज्यूरिसडिक्शंस. जब सॉवरेनिटी नहीं होगी तो स्टेट का कुछ मतलब नहीं होगा. सो हॉब्स बिलीव दैट विदाउट सॉवरन पावर, अगर सॉवरेनिटी नहीं है स्टेट में, स्टेट इज नॉट सॉवरन, सो देयर इज नो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, पीस एंड सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन, एंड इट कुड नॉट बी मेंटेन्ड इन अ सोसाइटी. सो विदाउट दीज इंडिविजुअल्स कैन नॉट सर्वाइव. And sovereignty means all powerful authority is within the state, and then these are the features of sovereignty: that it is absolute, irrevocable, unlimited, non-transferable. So let's study these four features one by one. It is absolute in nature. What does this mean? It means that the power of the sovereign is not limited to any authority, and all subjects surrender their rights to him, and he has no obligations towards them. Then there comes irrevocable. So irrevocable means कि मतलब वापस नहीं हो सकता. It means sovereign power will be final, and sovereign is the source of law and also the sole law making agency. ठीक है, समझ आ रही है ना? And it would be the sole interpreter. I hope you are getting what I'm saying. And then the third point is unlimited. So sovereign is not bounded by any constitutional law, and I told you it's absolute in nature. So supreme authority lies within the sovereign. जो हॉब्स का लेवाइथन था ना, I'm talking about that. So there will be no restrictions upon the authority of the sovereign. The law of God does not constitute any checks upon him. So according to Hobbes, स्टेट का जो हॉब्स का जो लेवाइथन है ना, द एब्सोल्यूट रूलर, दैट कैन नॉट बी क्वेश्चनड. उसके ऊपर कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं डाल सकता उसकी अथॉरिटी के ऊपर. सो Hobbes propound the theory of absolute and unlimited sovereignty. The fourth point is non-transferable. So Hobbes concentrate full executive, legislative, and judicial power in sovereign. And this theory of separation of power of checks and balance has no place in this system. ये जो theory इसकी Hobbes की theory में तो he's talking about no separation of powers of checks and balances among these institutions. कौन से हैं? ये judiciary है, legislative है, executive है. तो but later philosopher came who gave the theory of separation of power, and it was given by Montesquieu. ये बहुत important and popular theory है, and he gave the separation of power among the institutions, that every institution is separated from the other. मतलब legislature अपनी jurisdiction में काम करेगी, judiciary अपनी jurisdiction में काम करेगी, and they are not dependent over each other. तो ये theory बाद में दी गई थी, and even this theory is highly subjected to criticism जो हॉब्स की थ्योरी है। सो सॉवरन इज अबव मोरालिटी। मैंने आपको कहा इसको क्वेश्चन नहीं किया जा सकता। अकॉर्डिंग टू हॉब्स सॉवरन himself is above morality. No action of his can be described as immoral or injustice and it cannot be questioned. And in the state of nature जो previous slide में हमने पढ़ा था, there were no distinction between right and wrong, just and unjust, and what was moral and immoral. There were no property right, what was good, what was bad. These distinguish first came into existence with the establishment of state and setting up of a sovereign authority. Whatever is in conformity with laws made by the sovereign is just and right. Sovereign ने जो laws बना दिए बस बना दिए, that are right and just. उसे कोई question नहीं कर सकता, ठीक है? And no one can question his authority. तो and there is also concept of property. State of nature में प्रॉपर्टी का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था. देयर वर नो प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स एंड लॉज, बट आफ्टर व्हेन द स्टेट इज क्रिएटेड तो लोगों को उनका प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स मिल गए. द सॉवरन इज आल्सो द क्रिएटर ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी. तो ये दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट दिस स्लाइड. हॉब्स ने क्यों ये एब्सोल्यूटिज्म का कॉन्सेप्ट दिया था? मतलब व्हाई द एंटायर फिलॉसफी ऑफ हॉब्स रिवॉल्व्स अराउंड एब्सोल्यूटिज्म. क्यों इसने ये एब्सोल्यूट मोनार्क का कॉन्सेप्ट दिया था? तो इसकी जो राइटिंग्स हैं उससे पता चलता है दैट हॉब्स वाज विटनेस टू द इंग्लिश सिविल वॉर एंड इट्स आफ्टर इफेक्ट्स. मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया था, अकॉर्डिंग टू हिम द direct cause of English civil war was that the king, instead of retaining full sovereignty, had allowed parliament to grow up and as an independent revival power, and then thus the country had come to have two masters. According to Hobbes, to divide sovereignty is to destroy it, and this is against the attribute of sovereignty, that sovereignty is indivisible. It cannot be divided between two masters. ये हमेशा एक ही बंदे के पास है. Only there is one ruler who can exercise extreme sovereignty. So he justified absolute power and Hobbes ने कहा था, ये भी कहा था कि all political authority in any state must be concentrated in the hands of single sovereign power. तो हर एक ही बात जो है ना रिवॉल्व कर रही है around this absolutism. So to justify he took the example of Leviathan. और उसने अपनी लेवाइथन का मतलब जो है ना, जो हॉब्स की राइटिंग थी फेमस, उसका मतलब है द सॉवरन, द सुप्रीम रूलर, द एब्सोल्यूट रूलर. सो एब्सोल्यूटिज्म बिकेम अ प्रीडोमिनेंट फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इन 17th and 18th century. Absolute monarchy appeared to be superior to other forms of government because the despots were above the checks and balance system जो था ना उसके above थे. तो फिर and they have established total control and state resources, and in the end that Hobbes was an absolutist and he favored royal absolutism. Okay, so if you do the evaluation of Hobbes' social contract theory, हम इस conclusion पे आते हैं that Hobbes was supremely concerned with social order या security, peace and discipline of the individual. He made people realize the fundamental necessity of a strong government, क्योंकि जितना strong government होगा उतना ही ज़्यादा peace, law and order situation and security होगी. The state would guarantee rights and would guarantee security to the people. And he outlined the theory of nation state and gave a philosophical basis to the government whose origin we have seen in the Prince. The book Prince was written by Machiavelli, and इस Machiavelli ने इसने basically he gave advices to the Prince के मतलब he also favored monarchy और उसने एक Prince को advice दी थी अपनी इस book में. So Thomas Hobbes, according to him, that a powerful state means to ensure security and lives of the individuals. The power of state is to justify for what contributes to the good of individual. And in the end, all his theory is based on the state. State is sovereign and it is absolute in nature. His theory is subjected to severe criticism कि कैसे criticism मतलब कि there's no historical evidence found, there's no evidence in history which shows that state emerged by mutual or deliberate contract, मतलब लोग अपनी मर्जी से contract में आए, so that's why the social contract was impossible and impracticable. This concept is not clear because इसकी history में कोई evidence नहीं है कि whether this happened or not. Okay, so Hobbes' views on human nature were one-sided. वो किस तरह के, मतलब Hobbes described man as selfish, aggressive, तो बताया, brutish, cunning, self-centered, लेकिन he also ignored that man is cooperative as well and he sometimes compromises for his benefit as well. Okay, so Hobbes was unable to distinguish between the state and government. Hobbes also fails to distinguish between the state and government. He क्योंकि जो legal absolutism है ना of the state, he mixes with the governmental absolutism. And then Hobbes' absolutism leads to despotism as well and gives his subject no defense against oppressive and tyrannical rule. What if a sovereign becomes despotic? तो उसके खिलाफ nobody can question his authority. So entire trend of Hobbes' political philosophy is towards absolutism. The Leviathan was basically written with the purpose of justifying and defending absolute rule, as that was the only remedy for civil war which was at that time running in England. So Hobbes also, so hence the authority of the sovereign cannot be withdrawn or या cannot be cancelled. अच्छा, तो ये जो critics हैं ना इसकी regarding his theory, they basically connect the German and Italian totalitarianism to Hobbes' concept of absolute and authoritarian state. वो कैसे कि मतलब दे बिलीव दैट के जो टोटलिटेरियनिज्म में नहीं होता, जो जर्मन एंड इटली में, जर्मनी एंड इटली में हुआ था, द राइज ऑफ फाशिज्म एंड नाजिज्म, दे बिलीव दैट के मतलब हॉब्स का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है ऑफ एन एब्सोल्यूट सुप्रीम रूलर, तो दीज बोथ आर कनेक्टेड, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है. वी वुड सी व्हाई इट्स नॉट द वे दे हैव पोर्ट्रेट. क्यों, कैसे? क्योंकि फॉर्मेशन ऑफ गवर्नमेंट में ना जब हम देखते हैं तो according to Hobbes, contract was created by consent of the people. However, in totalitarian form of government, there is no space for people's consent. जो लोग हैं ना वो they do complete surrender. And then Hobbes have also justified individualism. How that Hobbes advocated for a civil society which would ensure security and peace for the benefit of people. And Hobbes was basically he cared about, he was concerned about the social order, the security, protection of individuals. While this does not happen in totalitarian government. जो totalitarians होते हैं वो तो उनका वो they are all powerful in their authority. And then Hobbes recognizes equality of men. कैसे कि every individual is equal before law in Hobbian state, मतलब जो Hobbes ने concept of state दिया था, there would be no special treatment to the rich and mighty. And totalitarian state में जो है ना the theory is based on superman kind of a space, मतलब जो super race से belong करते हैं, तो मतलब they are superior in race and the lower one are inferior in race. Okay, so supreme they only in political matters. Hobbes has talked about political sovereignty of the Leviathan. Hobbes' sovereign is supreme, but only in political matters, while totalitarian controls all aspects of human life. And Hobbes ने कभी भी glorification of war की बात नहीं की, जबकि totalitarians like fascists they glorify wars, and they even goes to this extent that war is must for a health of a nation. ये fascist कहते हैं, fascist rulers जो हैं. So Hobbes rejects war. Okay, thank you so much. This was all from me till now, and I hope आपको वीडियो पसंद आई होगी. अगर पसंद आई है तो do like my video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll come up with new topics as well. So Allah Hafiz till then. Bye bye.